Good day, everyone. I'm your host, James Hicks from Hicks New Media, and welcome to Perspectives and Focus, where we talk to the people, talk about the industries, talk about the ideas and the technology that are making positive strides within society. Today's guest is no stranger to the platform, Mr. Dennis O'Leary. He is the CEO, he is the CFO, and the chairman of the board of DarkPulse. DarkPulse is leading the edge of technology, not a leader within the technology, but is leading the technology for providing critical infrastructure solutions. You know, as smart cities and connected infrastructure become more of a reality, DarkPulse is truly breaking new ground in all sectors, be they aerospace, be they mine safety, oil and gas, pipelines, etc. Today, we're going to have an open discussion with Mr. O'Leary himself. He's going to talk specifically about he's going to talk about future innovations that DarkPulse and its subsidiaries are involved in. I know this is going to be an engaged conversation, so folks, if you could help me to facilitate this in terms of the questions coming in and the inquiries coming in, put a queue in front of your question so I can position that appropriately. But without further ado, let's get it going. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, not to stage, but welcome, Mr. Dennis O'Leary. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about you?
You know, every day's Groundhog's Day. That's what I've been saying lately. I just got back from presenting down in Sacramento earlier this morning to a bunch of realtors, and I said, "Listen, nice. I can't hang around too long. I got my guy coming on, and we got some things to talk about."
Nice. So, yeah. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you since Los Angeles.
Since Los Angeles, and again, I want to say thank you for that opportunity. Went down and was able to cover the Oscars. Was there for the night when the Rock and Smith incident happened. But no, other than that, maybe we should hang out more. I know you were just in Vegas, and I know you're going to be in DC. Maybe we should talk about connecting more in some of these things.
I mean, I have to say, you're not just a stand-up guy. You have that drive, like, few people have. So I love spending time with you. So you're definitely my people.
I appreciate you, sir. I appreciate that.
Same here.
Love it. Listen, there are some new folks coming to the community, and I appreciate everyone for joining. I know who you are. I can give a elevator pitch, but I always like to have that person that I'm talking to give their origin story. So I don't necessarily want you to go all the way back, but I would love for you to say who Dennis O'Leary is and really what DarkPulse is. And then we'll start getting into the conversation. If you can just tell us who you are and then what DarkPulse is and does.
It's a tough question right out of the gate. Thank you. Who am I? I'm a relentless individual. I had a dream to take a piece of technology that I found 12 years ago and create a product, commercialize a bunch of patents, which, really is, it's a long road. It's a tough road. But I'm seeing the fruits of the labor, so to speak. And now things are just, insane in terms of being busy. The tech, it's gonna speak for itself. We plan a public launch, I guess we can call it, in Smart Cities Connect on September 26th. And then, of course, we have our shareholders meeting the first week of October in Las Vegas. We're gonna do a petting zoo and have some VR headsets. So we have this sensing technology that can alert to problems with infrastructure such as a bridge, letting you know that there's going to be, an imminent collapse, well in advance, I should say, not even imminent. Oil and gas pipelines, we can tell you something's going on internal before there's even a leak on that pipe. And it just goes on and on and on. And it really, my dream is to be this foundational technology for smart cities. And that brought me to the Middle East, and I'm sure we'll get into all that conversation. It's such a novel idea. It was invented by Anthony Brown, a PhD up in Canada. And, with a novel technology, I felt it should have a novel interface, and that's why we pushed it from what we see in the market today, the industry. The user interfaces look like they're from the 1990s, and here we are. We have a virtual reality headset, 3D real time. In the instance of the uncut bridge, you're going to be able to walk it in real time and actually visually see what's going on inside that bridge, and that's just not out there. So
Yeah.
so here we are.
So hold on, because you're going in a whole bunch of different directions, and half of my community traditionally outside of the OTC marketplace and the financial marketplace understands when I talk about the metaverse and it starts talking about Oculus and things of that nature. But
Yeah.
talk to that technology from your lens and from your perspective, because I really want folks to understand that what you're doing, what you're building, what I've literally driven over what you've built. Because again, that bridge over here at Marysville, I drive over that at least
Yep.
once a month. Talk to us about how you're taking advantage and utilizing virtual reality and those headsets to build the infrastructure that DarkPulse is responsible for.
Yeah, so again, like if you look at user interfaces now on other sensing systems, it looks like the 1990s. It takes an engineer to look at and fully understand what's going on, and even then, you may not fully understand what's going on. What I wanted to do is really it comes down. There's a lot of little reasons, but the main reason, it has to be something that you can use, and it just feels like a natural thing. And we're visual people. We're not looking at. I mean, you can look at a graph and you can kind of understand what's going on, but when you rather just see it visually on, let's say, the bridge, for instance, what's actually going on, temperature, stress, and strain in real time, versus getting information, then kind of have to extrapolate what's going on and calculate and go, yeah, I think there might be a problem, on this particular infrastructure, right? And then you still have to send somebody out there to go do an inspection. Like, why not have a user interface where you're wearing a VR headset? You get an alert, you put the headset on, you could virtually walk that same structure, do the same visual inspection, actually have the data in front of you. And then one other cool thing, it's actually a two-way street to where we're doing it. So it's linked with geodata. So you would get the exact coordinates of where this incident occurred. And let's say you end up sending a technician out there. During that inspection on site, the technician can then also geo-mark locations on that bridge and send it back to whomever's looking at it from a distance. So It's actually a two-way data street, so that, visual inspection still can occur. They could geotag locations on pieces of infrastructure. And then the person back, in the office with the headset can go and look at that a little bit deeper, because visual inspection, you're just looking at the outside, but with our technology, you're looking inside the concrete, inside the steel, and you can, better understand what's occurring in that piece of infrastructure. So, I just felt like we needed to push the edge on everything. So
and that right there makes it real, again, for the layman or for the one who really doesn't know the technical pieces of what you're doing. But now, and I appreciate you for going into that. Now I want to actually get a little bit deeper into the weeds, right? For the folks that are here who know about what it is that you're doing. So I would love to talk about BODDA, right? I'd love to talk about what that is, what that means, and how DarkPulse is utilizing that. I'd love to talk about fiber reinforced polymers, things of that nature. So all of the bits of your technology, the Erebos technology that you use on the oil and gas side. So walk us through, if you don't mind, the portfolio of, I don't know if it's services or portfolio of technologies that make up DarkPulse.
That's a good question. I guess it's a little bit of both, right? So in terms of the technologies, there's a series of patents, and most of them are wrapped around this. It's brilliant optical time domain analyses, and it's how light bends in a medium. In this instance, the medium is glass. There's a shift in, I guess, in the frequency is the best way to say it, without getting too crazy. But it was discovered over 100 years ago. Leon Brion discovered the shift, and from that shift, we're able to see stress, strain, and temperature. Anthony Brown comes along, and at the time that Anthony was actually getting his PhD, there was problems with distance and resolution. The longer the distance, the worse the resolution got. resolution wasn't very good anyway. And he literally turned it on his head. Instead of doing this current or standard was bright pulsing, he decided, what if I take the snapshot after the pulse, like turn the laser off for a nanosecond or picosecond, and take a picture in the dark, we'll say. And he ends up with this magnitude of resolution that had never been seen before. He likens it to cups of beans, right? You either have distance, resolution, or time in terms of how fast you can measure. When he discovered dark pulsing, he increased all of those cups. So we have extended, resolution is better. We have extended capabilities in terms of like the 100-kilometer cutoff is not a 100-kilometer cutoff. And in terms of, collecting data, again, we're talking like picosecond types of data collection, which the more data you could collect, the clearer the picture, and one kind of all bounce off of the other. But so brilliant. Again, it's a science. We're sort of taking that science, and then, like I said, we have Anthony Brown that sort of came up with ideas in terms of how do we make the science work a little bit better, and we ended up with this dark pulsing BOTDA system. So I didn't want to go too crazy deep.
No, let me move here. Is that actually a technology that you patented, the BOTDA piece? Because again, I would love to know that differentiation, right? Again, as opposed to if someone just went out there and did a Google search and looked for dark pulsing, it'd be good to know the value add that you and your team are bringing to the field.
Yeah, no, we we patented BOTDA, dark pulse Brilliant. Scattering or dark pulse technology. It's really the technique of turning the laser off. There is a bright pulsing technique that's been patented. A large company called Schlumberger, they actually patented dark pulsing. I mentioned resolutions. They have a meter resolution. We're at about 10 millimeter resolution. It's really hard. When people hear those numbers, they're just like, what does that even mean? But I liken it to, if you go back in the 1990s when you were downloading an image, right? Very pixelated. You didn't really know what the heck it was, and eventually became clearer. Bright pulsing is that pixelated image. There's a lot of things they can't see. There's deployments that they can't enter, like for instance, oil and gas pipeline. Larger areas of a pipeline, 36 inches or greater, let's say. You can put, a bright pulsing system. If you want to go end to end and either go to a wellhead or go into a refinery, you need us. We can go down to 2-inch diameter pipes. And we're only limited there because, that's the bending radius of fiber. Beyond 2 inches, less than 2 inches, the fiber is going to break. So, and with that, I'll just mention, we again don't view ourselves as a competitor. We'll work alongside anybody because we offer the full end-to-end solution. And there's never one size fits all. It's always layered solutions are better. But I mean, in terms of capability, you're looking at the old school was static, quasi-static kinds of things where there's not much movement going on, not much changes over longer periods of time. We come along and we're 3D real-time VR headset capable, down into areas and items, I guess you could say, like pieces of infrastructure that we can monitor that the other companies just can't. They can't do it. They don't have the resolution.
Gotcha. That actually bodes great to a question that was just asked us right here by Salvation. So appreciate this question. Is this technology something that is already perfected, or is it something you're constantly working to improve, whether it be the resolution, the distance, et cetera? That's a great segue from what you were just talking about, if you can answer that.
Yeah. We haven't announced the manufacturing partner. I'm trying to figure out when's a good time for that. But the system's completely ready. It's manufacturable. It's being manufactured. Will there be improvements? That with technology, you're always looking to improve. There are some other patents that we're looking at that we would like to add to the portfolio. That's around the data handling, which just gives us increased data capacities, which of course, there's no bad point to having increased data capacity. So we're looking to always improve, but in terms of the technology where it stands now, it's a ready product. It's finished and ready to go.
I love it. And deployed, right? Again, I talk about the bridge that I drive over every month. So
yep.
From a layman, third person looking in again, so I know about bridges. Where else are you installed? I know of
Yeah.
a couple of things, but I would love to hear you talk about the other locations and the other infrastructure pieces that DarkPulse has already installed at, or have contracts that you can talk that are not under NDA.
Yeah, sure. Um, so the other one and I mentioned previous, it's a mining application, and in that instance, we're looking at air temperature and airflow. And what's interesting is it's the same piece of hardware that doesn't change. It's what we look at in the data, and then push that out to the user interface. So no matter what the deployment is, we're always going to send you. I'm sorry, we're always going to sell you the same stack of hardware. Just the things that might vary would be, again, the user interface or the type of fiber optic cable we use. So in the instance of the Huncut Bridge, the fiber resembles a piece of rebar because of the weight of the concrete. It's about 100 pounds per square foot. So a normal piece of fiber would be crushed. So we looked at more ruggedized fiber. And then in the instance of the mine, it's the underground classroom at the University of Arizona. It's the SX Silver Mine. We have a stainless steel jacketed fiber. And what we do is we run just a slight current down the stainless steel, and then that heats up the stainless, and we just use a temperature differential, and that gives us airflow and air temperature. What's interesting with the airflow is we then tie into the ventilation system, and then we're given real-time temperature airflow in a mine, and then we can send ventilation to where it might be needed. So in the instance of an active mine and they're blasting new tunnels, it's nice to see visually in 3D, real time, what the temperature and airflow is doing, and then direct your ventilation to that. And then I'll just sort of bridge the gap from mining airflow. We get into our first contract, which is at Moonland Resort in Egypt. And we're doing the same thing. We're running the fiber throughout the project, and we're going to control the HVAC systems. Because instead of having a single, instead of just one thermostat, the entire building is the thermostat. So every single space in that building, we see the temperature and airflow in real time. We can then direct temperature and airflow into those spaces. So it's more efficient. So you have lower costs of heating and cooling, but then also the climate is much nicer inside that building. So just one instance in terms of, I guess, variability of the same hardware, but again, we're just altering what we're looking at in the data, and we're altering what type of fiber we're going to use.
Possibilities sound endless, and still within its infancy, right?
It is still, I hate to say early stage, but I mean, the industry is moving towards distributed fiber sensor. It's taken 10, 12 years to get here. When we first had this thing out there, no one could understand it. They thought we were crazy. But now it's being sold. Other companies are in the distributed fiber space. So the whole industry is in its infancy, and it's accelerating.
Interesting. So let me ask this, and I've got a handful of questions, but listen, the community is on point today, and they're coming through with some good ones right here. Ms. Val actually has an interesting question. Have any other states reach out due to Caltrans install, and have you shared kind of live data feed with other states, Department of Transportation? Yeah, right. You're installed and operational here in California, but now when other folks see the success, now see the true value of the technology, whom else is talking to you about deployments and things of that nature? And is it not just, I want to interject, is it not just statewide? Are there global installations and global ramifications as well?
How do I answer without being too forward statement-ish? Yes, other states have reached out. Yes, other states have seen the data from the Huncut Bridge. But it's actually beyond other DOTs. It's no secret. I spoke at the Department of Energy a couple of days ago, and ran into quite a few mayors and legislators, and they were privy to some data, and because of that data, they requested, I think I mentioned this, they requested a sort of a walkthrough on the Huncut Bridge to actually see the process of us installing the fiber, and then watching the system in real time, so they can sort of get a better grasp on it. I mean, if you don't see it, it's very hard to kind of understand all the intricacies. So, so we're going to put together this sort of like walking, I guess, demonstration on the Huncut Bridge, where these legislators can then witness it and then go back to their constituents, explain to them, as best I can, right, how this thing is deployed, what the benefits are, because September is money month. That's when all the budgets start getting voted on.
Right.
So having them come out and actually see this and going back to the constituents, and I actually volunteered in a couple instances to join these legislators with their constituents during these meetings to explain the technology deeper. But anyway, they're going to come out, look at it, and then they want to take it back to their constituency and have measures, voted and put into place to add the technology, at least initially, into the bridges, because that's a major concern. We've seen a series of bridge collapses, but then also oil and gas pipelines. We had the PG&E incident out in California.
Yeah.
So that's another concern that came up during my discussion. So that's a long answer to yes. It's more than just Caltrans, and I said this once before too. The reason why we went forward with Caltrans first is they set the standard for all the other departments of transportation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why we're in California. Yeah.
So let's
Beside the fact that you take the bridge every
pretty
so
much
often,
right. There it is. Man.
That's the
Listen,
number 2 reason.
I'm selfish, right? Just because I'm using the technology and I talk about it, I point to it. Hey, that's Dennis's bridge right there. But let's stay on that path, though, talking about this busy week that you had, right? And this conversation, the fact that you are, as you say, officially in the loop, right? And having that conversation, that White House briefing on how the Inflation Reduction Act will tackle the climate crisis and bolster American energy security, right? That's the title. That's what you had. You had, what, 30 minutes to have a conversation in front of political leaders, in front of different state contingents and things of that nature. How did that session go, and were you received warmly? Were there any issues in terms of what you were presenting to those folks that made you want to step back and say, oh, we need to go back and regroup? Or, again, what was that kind of conversation like for those of us that are, again, sitting on the back fence?
Yeah, actually, it was very well received, and I guess really the first step was that I was at the Department of Energy, and that's where I met most of the constituency that were on the White House call. In fact, 2 members of the White House staff were at Department of Energy, and I'd interacted with them, and then I ended up getting invited into this group. It's less than 50 people that will get these weekly or bi-weekly updates directly from the White House. When I was on that call, it was the same 2 people I'd met in DC, and then a third person that came on. So again, being in the loop, as these topics come out, I'll be invited to join these I guess, webcasts or web discussions where I can ask questions, things of that nature. So I guess that's the how I got on there. The important thing is that the administration and from my experience with the Department of Energy now, they're full speed ahead. They want to, they passed 2 measures. We have the infrastructure law now. It's not just a bill.
Yeah.
And then we have the IRA, and they're actually interlocked. The U.S. government is trying to find avenues to kind of get this money out there to where it belongs, to where it's needed the most. Small businesses came up, minority-owned businesses, depressed areas. I guess by me saying I'm in the loop is interesting. Is I can understand what the philosophy is, the current administration, in terms of how they want to deploy this capital so that it's kind of best used. But one of the things I took away, on top of all the unbelievable information I was given, was that there's a disconnect between industry and government. And we kind of already knew this, but when I was at the Department of Energy, I won't say who it was, but I met the person where they're the government official, I'll put it that way so I don't narrow them in, who controls the area around the bridge. And they had no idea that we were doing the Hunt-Cut Bridge. They were shocked that it was going on, and they had no knowledge. And the conversation went to, that's kind of par for the course. We can't get very granular. We're not getting the information all, that maybe we need at all times. And it is this disconnect. I mean, we have a massive government, right? The U.S. is fairly large, and there's a lot of different programs going on. And I think they really appreciated the fact that the event I was at the Department of Energy invited me as someone in the industry actually say, hey, look, there is this disconnect. Here I am. And how can we all work together? And that's what was carried over on the White House call. It was, how do we get the money out into industry and make this thing happen? Because we've already allotted this funding. Why would we want it sitting idle? It should be utilized in the best way possible. And then there was, of course, these sort of hot topics or priorities that the administration has. And for me, of course, I'm thinking, how can I align DarkPulse, with be on the same page?
Of course, of course.
So,
all right, I got
anyway.
more questions, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
deviate even from my script, and I need to know because I don't know what is Zilla Nation.
Oh yeah,
Because I got more Godzilla emojis coming, and it's in your Twitter profile. These are the inquiring things that people really want to know. Talk to me about Zilla Nation, man. I got to know this one. This is going to move the stock right here. Just this conversation right here. Forget everything else. Just explaining what Zilla Nation is.
Yeah, it's actually it's kind of funny how it started. Godzilla versus King Kong was coming out, and I'm a bit of a geek still, so I was excited that it was coming out, and I posted, the movie was coming out, and I think at the same time almost, someone had posted on, some chat room that it's a Godzilla stock, meaning our stock, is a huge stock, and the two kind of, perfect storm, and people started calling it a Godzilla stock, and then Zilla Nation, and then it just kind of grew from there. So yeah, I mean, Zilla Nation are people that I would say they're the long stock shareholders in the company. I've seen some of the things that they put out there, and man, they're right on point in terms of like if you're trying to figure out the connections between the dots, and they came to Las Vegas for the first event. They're gonna book out the second event. We're gonna be close to selling that out. So yeah, the Zilla Nation are just people that love what the company's doing. They believe in the tech, and they're kind of long-term shareholders. So
I love that.
So they call themselves the Zilla Nation. So
that is too cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
It's pretty awesome.
That's good to have a community behind you and around you, right? That can 100%. Also reverberate your message, right? When you put positive energy out there in the atmosphere, and you've got folks that agree with you, buy into you, and understand where you are and where you're going, they can be the loudest cheerleaders for you. They can also be the most loudest critics of you, and hopefully keep you honest. So I mean, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, there's more positives than negatives of that.
I agree. I was gonna say they amp me up. They get me. They keep me going. Even the negative stuff. I think the negative stuff drives me more. Anyway, but and I just want to say one last thing on criticism. The good news on that is like I look at it and I'm like, oh geez, they're right. I forgot to do X, Y, or Z. And the one thing I'll just point to real quick is I had never changed the name of the patent to the company. Because I'm thinking, oh, it's a couple of $1,000. So we don't really need to change the name, but that came up, and I was like, okay, I guess it's worth spending the money to change the name. It makes sense. So criticism is always welcome. There's always two sides of the fence, and that's fine.
And especially they'll see things that you may overlook or you may just step across.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna get back to a point that you just brought up about again those that are financially vested in the organization. I want to talk a little bit about that because there are two key topics I want to talk about that. But listen. We know you can't do this alone, right? There's a squad behind you. There's a team around you. Talk to us a little bit about the folks that you've got working with you to help build out this infrastructure, to help build out this company, and to really move forward with the vision of DarkPulse overall.
Yeah, I mean, how do I even describe these guys? Every single person that's on board lives and breathes this thing. I noted, people have moved different states to support the company and support my ideas. If you look now, we have a team over in India at Optel, and it's Ehab flew up from Egypt, and Jason, who's the CEO now of Optilon, he and Craig flew over from the UK. I mean, I asked these people, to do, 1, 2, or 3 things, and I can't even finish the sentence. They're already like, I'm on it, and they'll do it. and the energy is really phenomenal. And what's really cool is like we're pushing 400 people between all of the groups, and the enthusiasm is there. It's as if it's still a small company, and everybody's just driving this thing. So I don't know how we ended up doing that. I don't know if it's because I'm a 22-hour a day guy, and it trickles down
23.
sometimes.
23.
Yeah, sometimes 23. That
Last
day I
time you
spoke
and
to
I
you in
talked,
Egypt.
you were in Egypt and it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and for some
Yeah,
reason
that
we were
was
both
23.
awake. So yeah, right.
That was the 23.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the passion is there. I definitely have the passion. I love what I do. And I think it just kind of, infects everybody around me. But yeah, I mean, the team is incredible, and we're still building the team. We just added our financial controller, and she's a beast as well too. She's just 100% into it. We have a biz dev guy coming on. He wrote me this long email about how he would not want to work with any other group than us, and so it's just in the DNA of the company. And yeah, I mean, it's just the excitement never slows down every day. It's just the level of excitement it's palpable. It really
Love
is.
that. Love that. Let's talk about this. You mentioned about recently being in office, obviously in DC, and talking with the White House, things of that nature. And I also know that you're pursuing or considering opening an office in DC, a government relations office. Is that
Yep.
going to be more just to work with legislator and things of that nature, or is it going to be some science and some technology people there as well? What's going to be the focus of that particular location?
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of both
Okay.
because DC for networking, you have to have a presence there. You
Yeah.
have to be out and about. There's actually a lot of networking events. One of the reasons why I got into going to talk to the Department of Energy was I was just kind of at a network event at a restaurant, and I met the guy that owns the I don't want to say it wrong. It's like EOPA. And we just hit it off, started talking about the technology, and he invited me to go to DC to talk to the Department of Energy. Um, our I guess my PR person, Cassandra, she's from DC. It's kind of what's interesting is like the networks, almost like in when I spoke about this in Phoenix, but a lot of the networks are interconnected. So
Mm.
if you're out there and maybe you're at dinner, or there's a happy hour or something, right? If you have people there just talking and they start meeting one another, there's like connections across all those networks, and news spreads really, really quickly. And of course, not being there all the time, I felt, geez, we need a presence there. Joe Catalino, he's regularly in DC. Carrie Bachner, she's our lobbyist group. She's in DC quite a bit. But I just thought it's time to have a bunch of people out with DarkPulse business cards, talking up the company, talking to their networks. So that's what I decided. Let's go, get the DC people, in the company. And again, we have a good previous relationship because both Carrie and Joe Catalino, worked in DC. They were both part of Carrie's Homeland Security, Joe's at the Pentagon. Let's find some key people, get into the networks, and you need to have a daily presence. You have to be in front of people. So it's just a small location, to have meetings and whatnot. But it's going to be, again, like I say, a combination of like technologists and business people. And I just really want to like activate that network because, I only get up there, about once a month. So yeah, I just felt like, you want your finger on the pulse.
Right.
The only way to do that is have your people out there. So
It's true. Makes
that's why
sense.
DC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask this
Yeah.
question from Basecamp. What has been the greatest challenge or lesson learned while overseeing DarkPulse through the rapid growth stage? And do you anticipate the number of employees to continue growing at a similar pace? Right. And so kind of in line with you opening up these new offices and kind of some of the challenges that you have seen since this hockey stick worth of growth for the organization.
Yeah. Hockey stick, to say the least, right? I'll go with the easiest part first. We're continuing to hire. We hired a couple more people over at TJM. I think most people know that we got some work now for a medical device company, that kicked off. So we hired 2 more people over at TJM. We're looking at increasing the line, I'll call it. We're buying more equipment for TJM. DarkPulse, I estimate we're going to get up to around 50 people in Houston. We so far have 2, so it's going to be a bit of a haul. But we do have an HR firm we're talking to. So yes, there's definitely growth, continuing growth. We're bringing Egypt online as well too.
Okay.
We have a joint venture with EEMW, so we're going to hire more people there, and of course we signed that agreement with Gassos. I'll be in Abu Dhabi next week, and so we're going to have an Abu Dhabi office location and have mostly technologists, like sales, techie engineers there as well. So yeah, there's going to be continued expansion, continued hiring. The biggest challenge is, I guess, trying to shut everything off that's going on across my desk on a daily basis, to focus on, like, let's concentrate on hiring the people, and that's been a challenge for me. But the thing is, I understand that we need to get it done, but I guess the strategy is we're hiring key people first, directors, and then they can kind of take on the hiring process for us. And like I say, we're talking to actually 2 HR firms, both based in Houston, and then they'll help with the process. So it's only a short-term challenge, but it's because it's my days are so busy right now. So it's a challenge in that regard. It's just, how do I divide my time?
Well, let's piggyback off that, man, because again, those are the kind of things that I like to dive into and really ensure that whomever's on the other side of this camera that I'm talking to, that they're okay, right? So what does Dennis O'Leary do when you got to 22, 23, 24 maybe hours, right? I mean, how are you taking care of yourself, and do you prioritize those aspects? Because mental health, mental care, self-awareness, things of that nature, we want to make sure that you can't take care of everything else if you're not taking care of yourself.
Yeah, 100%. So it may not look it, but I do go to the gym every day.
You look good, man.
I get up real early. Yeah, I lost a ton of weight. The problem was I'd been on the road 6 weeks, and every time you're meeting somebody, it's over food. I've noticed
food and wine, right? Food.
So I put on 20-something pounds real quick.
Wow.
And so I forced myself to I don't eat on airplanes anymore. It's like there's some things that I decided I'm not going to do anymore, and and it's worked. The weight's coming off, but so physically, I feel really good. I'm always very high energy, and like I say, I work out. I go every day. I'm at the gym here every day. I try to find a good one at a hotel. In fact, I book my hotel based on what's in the gym.
I love it. If they got a Peloton in the hotel, that's the ones you go to?
Yeah, I look, and if they don't have photos, I call them. I'm like, can you send me, like, what do you have in your gym?
I love it.
The mindset's there. So I'll continue that. I'll probably increase that because you get addicted once you start working out. And then mentally, I don't know how else to say it. I love what I do. This is I have a really supportive family. I live the life of a nomad. Like, where do I live? I live where DarkPulse needs me to live. And luckily, I have a family that's like, let's do it. So may I end up living in DC? Yeah, probably. I said I'd move to Dubai. I mean, that's, if needed, I'll do that. So mentally, it's, I don't know how to explain it. Yeah,
no, you did a great job, and I appreciate you indulging me on that, because again, that's probably a question that you weren't anticipating, and even a question probably that everyone that's listening and watching now or on the replay. But I think it matters because, again, if you're those 3 titles within your organization, CEO, CFO, chairman on the board, a lot of that stuff is stuck up there, right? Yeah, you've got your team and your squad, and it's kind of you're seeing where I'm taking this, right? I want to ask about the squad, and now I want to ask about you. If you're not good, a lot of those dreams, visions, plans, frameworks, and things like that may not succeed and move forward. So we want to make sure,
100%.
And especially those that are vested from a financial perspective, that Dennis O'Leary is doing okay and still loves what he's doing when he gets up in the morning. So There you go,
Yeah.
man. Appreciate you asking.
Yeah, 100%. And I just comment in that, that we're looking at the CFO position. We're looking at to extend the board.
Hmm.
There's committees that need to be put in place. We want to closer resemble, a company up on a big board. Also, there's committees that are being created. That we're going to expand the board. We're bringing in more executives, and then, of course, with that, more employees. Yeah, I don't want to be the bottleneck. So I understand where we're at. I wanted to make sure the growth was like a steady thing, not just some random kind of thing going on. So then with that, when we did see steady growth, that's when I decided, okay, now's the time we need to start filling in a lot of the rank and file kind of positions.
Cool. All right. Now we'll get into some dollars and cents and some numbers.
That's right.
Or some more questions about the umbrella organization, right?
Yeah.
Especially the Optilon subsidiary, right? Closing multiple contracts in the same week. What's going on? I mean, that's big
Those,
news, and let's not overlook that. Talk to us a little bit about what Optilon is for folks who may not
yeah,
know, and what they're
yeah.
involved in, and about this particular very progressive week that they had.
Yeah, and yeah, you hear a lot of times the term organic growth thrown around there, which, hey, that's fine, but I'm more of a buy versus build kind of guy, right? I
Mm,
bought Optilon, and we were a global player overnight. Like, why would I take years and years and years to build into that space, especially in the industry that we're in? I mean, things move so rapidly here. People talk about, how we're raising money and things like that. And I understand the concerns of a company that's raising money, and we have an S1 to do that. But at the same time, if we were to grow slowly, we would never have any market dominance whatsoever, and we would be out of business in just in a very short period of time, because there's so many players now. There's so many big guys, so the big boys are moving into these spaces. The only way we can compete is to get market share, and that's really the focus: is to get as much market share as possible, as soon as possible, because you're going to reap the rewards and the benefits later. So it's positioning the company now for later versus, oh, we'll just chug along and we'll be really slow. And yeah, by the time you get there, there's already going to be somebody leading in that market,
right.
right? Then how do you get in there? Now is a good time because there's a lot of flux going on, and people are just starting to align themselves. Like, now we're hearing about the commercial and the industrial, metaverse. We're already building into the metaverse. We have a digital twin of the bridge. So we're always going to push the limit in terms of growth, because I know we're going to have the reward later. That's the plan. So buy versus build. So we bought Optilon. That put us in like 7 or 8 countries. Brought us up to like 300 employees. I'm talking in group terms.
Right.
So why are they on fire? Well, I bought them on a fire sale because they had just come through COVID, and they were decimated by COVID.
Okay.
The government in the UK, they didn't have as many support things that companies had in the US, and it really just ran their cash down to like zero, which was an opportunity for us. So we purchased them. We sort of resized them, or really more correctly, refit them, put people in the right seats. And we transitioned to Jason Keith as the CEO. He had been the commercial director, really understood the business, and just again, he's over in India for me.
Mm,
Just has the right attitude, and it was just getting the right people in the right seat. Looking at ways to streamline like the back end processes, and really they just took off. But I was going to say they just took off, but their thing is they kind of just went back to where they were, which was closing deal after deal. They're up to like somewhere over a dozen deals that they've brought in already.
wow.
And it's just incredible the drive that these people have. They've always had that drive. It's just, again, a lot of people forget already this COVID-19 thing. It's only coming up on a year that we got out of our
True.
houses.
True.
Business is starting to come back. We still have the backlog in finding like materials that we might need. But yeah, it was just the desire and the drive was always there. We kind of reset them, and now they're just doing what they do best, and that's what we're witnessing now. We're going to continue to witness. They're closing these deals because that's what they've done in the past. They're always just a very high growth company, and Yeah,
I
here they
love it.
are.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, and
I
Matt,
like to take credit because I'm the chairman of the board, but it's not me. It's those guys.
you
So
surround yourself by quality people and around winners. Everyone is winning. I love that.
100%.
But let me ask this, and this is again,
Sure.
and I'll get back to kind of more of a financial question. Are
Yeah.
there any misconceptions that people have about DarkPulse? Right, we've talked a lot of positives, a lot of pros. Right, you've gone to Washington and you've sat in front of lobbyists and you've had those types of conversations. You've talked to Caltrans and PG&E. You talk to a lot of hard conversations, and there seems to be a lot from our discussion right now, a lot more head nodding
Sure.
than resistance, hesitation, misconceptions. Talk to us a little bit, if you can, and if there is any pushback from what it is that your vision is and what you're trying to do with DarkPulse. Where are you seeing that? Is it at the local level, the city level, the federal level, or where
Yeah.
community level kind of thing?
In terms of pushback, originally what it was, so where have you sold one of these things?
Okay.
And I had to go with hat in hand and say, oh, we haven't sold one yet.
Yeah.
But, we did proof of concepts here, here, and here. And it was always, well, go sell one and come back to us. So that drove me to do this deal with Caltrans and get it into a bridge, because the conversation completely changed when I met with whomever, whether it's industry or government. And they would ask the question, where is this thing deployed? How do we, have you sold one? Yes, it's in a bridge in California. And now even beyond that is the contract with Moonland, and incidentally partners with Siemens. So now you have Siemens is at the table with us as well too. So it just I wouldn't say legitimizes, but it's like show us the money. Where has this thing been deployed?
Yeah.
Is it actually working? Can we get our hands on the data? So now it's a different ball game. So there really is. There was never any resistance, so to speak. There was a lot of intrigue around the technology and the claims that we were making. But now that it's actually out there, and I can say, yes, you want to do a demonstration? We'll meet you in Sacramento and we'll demonstrate the technology for you in person. That's all gone away.
Wow,
It
that's
really
powerful.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned Moonland. Let's talk a little bit about that. How's that going?
It's. I don't want to say too much. It's hard to. I don't want to cross the line into future things, but so how do I explain it? There's a couple of things there. It's an interesting contract because it's not just our technology. The really cool thing is that we're the exclusive tech integrator, and with that, we're integrating our technology into Siemens technology.
Okay.
So it's going to be multiple phased. Where we are right now is we're getting ready where we actually run the fibers throughout the building, and then in the background, I guess the best way to describe is the programming aspect, and that is, I guess, building a bridge between our systems and Siemens systems is where the focus is right now. So we still have some engineering things going on. We have some programming things beginning. The building itself. It's not tight to the weather yet. It's almost there. But right about now is when we would start running the fiber cable and things like that. So it's on track. I don't know that I could give like a date that would be completed because it's not in our control because it's a construction project. But in terms of the contract's begun. And like I said, there's sort of these multiple things going on. In terms of the deployment, so again, like software and some more engineering and things like that.
Okay.
And I apologize, we're both frozen, so I don't know. I think it might be me.
No, we're still going. It's all good. It's all
Okay.
good. And
It's frozen on
I
my screen,
appreciate
sorry.
that because again, at least you can say that there's still forward momentum and it's still a priority, right? So I think that is kind
Yeah.
of where the question stemmed from the community. So I appreciate Matt and you for
I
asking
got
that
you.
question.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I was just distracted because I'm.
It's those horns
I'm glad we're
behind you.
still
That's
moving.
what it
I'm
is.
glad
It's
we're
those horns behind you. That's what's distracting you, isn't it? No.
I think that's what's going on. I don't want to refresh, so I'll just go with being frozen for now.
Yeah.
But no, it's that it's definitely it's the first sale, so it's our priority, and it's also aligned with the fact that we're building. So we have this joint venture agreement, and we're building. There'll be a DarkPulse Egypt.
Wow.
That's there's a legal process going on in terms of getting the paperwork completed. But it's with EEMW and Ehab Eldamiri. He's the founder of EEMW, but he's also now a director in DarkPulse as well. So we have the relationship with him, and he's actually in India right now, also at OM Optel. And he sent a bunch of videos for us today, so I put those on our Twitter. But now this is full speed ahead, and I'll stop for a second, but there's a lot more to talk about in terms of Egypt.
Okay, and I appreciate that. I'll get links to some of those publications and posts that you did, because there's questions about the Optel acquisition as well that's in the comments. Just want to make sure that folks know where to find that, so I'll put that up as well. Let me ask.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we'll go ask about the dollars and cents now. We'll get back to that.
Okay.
You have talked about the future probability of uplisting DarkPulse to the NASDAQ, right?
Yeah.
And the possible IPO for Optilon. If you had the crystal ball with all the answers, if you knew 5 of the lotto numbers and you just needed 6, where are you with those particular activities? And is that something that you can talk to us a little bit about?
I can only talk very little. Unfortunately, the SEC has something called gun jumping rules, and so the initial press release it was kind of very strict rules in terms of what we must say in the press release and what we can't say. So it's I'm trying to think how much I can give in terms of details. I know some of the questions I get is let's say we were to IPO Optilon. But it gets sketchy here to like what I can say, what I can. So I had said that we were going to put up to 20%. So the balance would still remain on DarkPulse's balance sheets. That's the one I generally see a lot. And I had mentioned this is not something out of the ordinary. Warren Buffett has done it. With his group, it helps establish a market cap for your subsidiary, which should translate to a better, market cap for the parent company. If you do the math and take 80% of that market cap, it should help with the market cap. Not necessarily that it will. And then the other part is, I think I could talk more deeply about the special dividend, which would be in shares of Optilon. And the reason why I wanted to do that is there was a little confusion, are we missing out? If the subsidiary ends up going IPO, and how do we get to participate? Do we have to buy shares or this? So I thought I guess to take care of, not so much reward, but take care of our current shareholders. I felt that it was a good idea to do a special dividend as a stock, and the stock is of Optilon, to give. I guess the ability for current shareholders to just kind of participate in anything that might come from Optilon. So hopefully I answered enough of that. It's just really, really tough because of regulations.
Makes sense.
So
Makes sense.
Yeah. And yeah. So, and I have to say, it's not an offer to invest, because we can't make an offer to invest. There's procedures you have to follow. Getting a prospectus out there and things like that. But for right now, just understand that I decided special dividend in shares of Optilon was to kind of reward our shareholders and let them participate in anything that might come towards Optilon's future.
Gotcha.
Put it that way, I think is the best way.
So let me, and for clarity's sake, because there was a question from Leo that I just put up. He was asking, is the share buyback still an option? Now, was that share buyback of Optilon or DarkPulse? That he
so so the share buyback is linked to DarkPulse.
Okay.
It was a 12-month, I guess, filing or agreement, I guess we could say, and it's still active till November. And in terms of how or when or why we would do it, it's not really much I could say that I don't want to cross the line. But the idea is I don't know what that's such a tough question. I have to apologize. Yeah, I mean, it's still active. I have every intention of using it. That's why we created it.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a tough question. Again, just I'm being super cautious in terms of
No worries.
crossing any kind
We
of.
understand the caution
Yeah,
that you
sorry
have
about
to, and
that.
we appreciate you at least being
Yeah,
honest with what you can and cannot say. Right. We don't want you to say
yeah,
something off the cuff and it not be true, and then next thing you know, CNBC on this TV tomorrow is saying something crazy about Dennis
yeah.
O'Leary and DarkPulse. We don't. No one
Yeah, you
wants
know
that.
what? There's so much gray area. So I'm always like super cautious. And you see that too, even like with our press releases. It's never, hey, we're going to do this thing. This is going to happen. It's always, we close this deal, we sign this thing. You know, it's always after the fact. Again, just because I try to put this big a margin as possible to err on the side of caution. So, and again, I've read some of those things. Some of the regulations, they're extremely gray area. So I tend to, you know, again, stay as safe as possible.
All right, tell you what. Let's back away from the fire of
The precipice.
of these harder
Yeah,
questions, and but still be timely and still be relevant. You are
yeah,
the primary sponsor for the Smart Cities Connect conference in DC
yeah.
next month, right?
Yep. September 26th to 29th.
Talk to us a little bit about why you felt the need to be such a major sponsor for this particular event, and what can folks attendees expect from this particular event, and what capacity is DarkPulse going to provide
Yeah.
visibility?
Yeah. So I like to say like nothing's by accident. You know, we have been in the DC area, you know, again, represented by Bachner Group, and there's a history there from, you know, like some of our team, and you know, I knew we were going to get to DC at some point. That was my plan. It's been like that for some time. And when the Smart Cities Connect opportunity came up, you know, the spring session was in Colorado, but the fall session was at DC, and was just, you know, aligned with what I wanted to do. So the visibility itself is massive to be the platinum sponsor. Again, you know, we'll have this amazing booth again, like we had in San Jose. But more importantly, every single attendee is going to be wearing a lanyard with our name on it. I have the opening keynote, which is almost an hour. So
Wow.
yeah, it's just huge. It's the great thing is it's not a bunch of slides of me at a podium. You know, it's just kind of relaxed, sitting like, you know, like a club chair with a moderator and just getting interviewed, just kind of like this, really relaxed. And then you know, a reveal of the VR capability of the interface. And then we will have headsets at the booth, so the attendees that, you know, get to come to the opening keynote will be able to stop by the booth, put on the VR headset, and walk the Uncut Bridge. So it's just a way to introduce DarkPulse to the world,
Hmm.
introduce the technology to not just DC, but, you know, just about every city manager in the United States is going to be there. Over 500 city managers, and they're looking for these technologies, you know, to improve their infrastructure and push us towards smart cities. And kind of the dream for me is to be the foundational tech of smart cities. And I've said this over a year. And then look at the timing as well too. Like I say, now is money season. Now is when,
Hmm.
you know, bills are being written, and, you know, funding is coming into place in September. So what better place to hold it or be part of it is in DC during money season.
Yeah.
The infrastructure law is signed into law. The IRA has just been signed, and then here we are. You know, DarkPulse, we're platinum sponsor. Um,
Okay.
so
Because I was going to ask, right?
hopefully,
I mean, what is the ROI really for you and DarkPulse to be at that such a
yeah,
visible sponsorship level for this conference? Again, you're putting a lot of resources
yeah,
into it, but you really dove into exactly why this matters, again, from a business perspective, and again, kind of taking
sure,
it looking at it sideways as well for those, again, that are financial investors, and, you know, is this the right thing for DarkPulse and for Dennis to be doing? And it sounds like it is, because like you said, you're in those rooms, you're sitting at that lunch, you're having beverages and meals with the folks who make the decisions right at the time when it's time to cut checks. Right. So, I mean, that
Exactly.
matters. And hopefully folks can understand that something like this does matter and does resonate with the overall strategy of the company. And
Yeah.
I got questions just coming in left and right. And I think that's a phenomenal thing. And that
Yeah.
may just mean we have to do this at least one more time.
Oh, I would love to.
Because when you think about it, I really wanted to spend today talking about a couple of things. I wanted to let folks who didn't see you last time when you were on the session with Dr. Chandra, right? Just
Sure.
about what it is that you do, you as Dennis O'Leary, what it is that DarkPulse does, who DarkPulse is, and who the subsidiaries are. I wanted to have that conversation today. I wanted to have the conversation about what it is that you're doing, not today, but also in the future. I wanted to have the conversation about the dollars and cents side, right? Because again, that's very front of mind for a lot of folks in the community because they've got
Sure.
real money vested in the organization. So I wanted to have that conversation. But there's still more to talk about because you're doing so much, which is a good thing, right? So
Sure.
we can't just sit here for 60 minutes and think that we're going to cover everything that you're involved in because your phone is probably ringing, your email is probably just blowing up as well behind the scenes. That's why your internet's going crazy because you got all kind of stuff going on over there in your neck of the woods. So
Yep. Yeah.
let's think about after this season of events, this season of whatever, maybe after Q4 or whatever the case may be, of revisiting and really, I'm going to, as you know, call you on task and say, what is it that
Sure.
you've done? And not what have you done for me lately, because I'm not financially vested in the company, but what is it
Sure.
that you said you were going to do? Did you do it?
Yeah.
And
Right.
why did you do it or did you not do it? I mean, I think folks really want to have that candid conversation with the people in the know. And I think
Sure.
that again builds your credibility. There's no need for, I mean, it's not like it's tarnished or there's any issues with it, but again, that just continues to build and have folks around you having those conversations for the Zilla Nation to go
Sure.
out and hear Dennis talking about it and then to continue to spread the word. I think just that matters. Do you agree with me on that?
Yeah, and you should ask the question. Like again, like I say, there's both sides of the fence, and I'm open to criticism as well too. Um, I'm not into trolling and posting false information. At least post something that's true. Um, but I have to point to the even again now the recent shareholder letter to look at that because it talks about what we accomplished. There's maybe 15, 18 things. And then there's the plan going forward. And I just want to say, I have the 20-year plan up in my brain. It's in here. And I tend to pick up the pieces of the puzzle along the way. So, like, I understand people maybe not understanding, like, why are we investing money into DC? But that will show later. I know why I'm doing it. I know the timing of doing it. Like I mentioned, now is budget season, so that's why we decided to do September. So again, I posted again today, like there's a reason behind everything I do. I may not be able to say it either for regulations wise or just because of competition, I won't say it. But there's a 20-year plan. I'm the only one with the 20-year plan. I tend to even give my guys only a few years at a time because some things seem disconnected. It's like why are we doing this? It just doesn't make sense. So I keep it narrow, more narrow, I guess, because I know I'm going to get to where I need to be. And I have these pieces kind of lined up because I like to know. Like, I don't believe in paradigm shift. I believe in having a roadmap, collecting the pieces along the way, right? So when I get to that junction, it's not like, I got to go get this piece. I have the piece. So sometimes they may not make sense, but they do in the bigger picture. And like I say, there's a 5, 10, 15, and 20-year view. And I'm working, every aspect of that. And, people will start seeing these things kind of drop out and then the pieces come together.
I love that. Tell you what, in closing and in summary, because I do want to be cognizant of your time, sir.
Sure, thank
For
you.
folks who may be joining late, who just saw that I was online tonight and wondering who is Dennis O'Leary, what is DarkPulse, and have gotten some of this conversation and are interested. If you don't mind talking about what's next, really in the short term for the organization, right? We've talked a lot of futures. We talked about contracts. We talked about conferences and things of that nature. But
Yep.
next week, tomorrow, those types of things, what's next for DarkPulse? What do you have kind of on that short burner right in front that the company and the organization is working on that can get folks excited about what you're doing?
Yeah. So again, this is all public information as well. We engaged energy partners again to help us with an acquisition. There's 2 acquisitions that I'm looking at. I believe if we can get the acquisitions to the door, we are going to have minimum 20% market share in the sensing space, and that's why I'm going after these particular acquisitions. We're getting through the process with OM Optel. Again, we don't have a definitive agreement yet. We're doing due diligence. But again, there's just a whole host of things that brings. Custom cables that we can manufacture. I said it's about 65% of our cost, and fiber being a commodity, there's no margins on fiber. That costs, of course, unless you're building it yourself, then there's a margin. It makes us more competitive, gives us more flexibility in terms of products we can offer. And then a really nice piece that they have is this high-density polyethylene pipeline up to 12 inches. So my plan is to implement our system, putting the fibers from the manufacturing side of the fiber side over to the HDPE side, and selling gas pipeline with our system already embedded in it. So that's why the OM Optel is important. That's why I think that was the first step here now. And then, hopefully, again, we can get to this definitive agreement. I can't say anything, again, it'd be a forward-looking kind of statement. So, but we're in due diligence. I'd like to close that definitive agreement, get that capability coming in. The plan is to manufacture these products, bring them into our Tempe facility in Arizona, and distribute to the United States. We have a competitive edge because of the costs. We're going to utilize it. Optilon's going to utilize it. And then whatever else we can sell to other customers, we're going to build that business. That's the plan. And then, like I said, I think these other 2 companies, they're sensing companies as well. Acquiring one or both is going to put us in as a market leader globally. And, I see that, that generates dollars. That's going to give us, shareholder equity. It's going to bring value into the company, value for shareholders. So that's why I'm picking up these pieces now, because, I'm just looking at what the future is going to hold. And, yes, I could just try to build us, as we are. But my idea is is a roll-up strategy, bring the capabilities, the market share. It's going to increase our global footprint. It's going to increase revenues. It's just products and services, But again, more importantly, market leader. We need to be the market leader, and I'm doing everything I can to get us into that position.
Love it. Love it. Listen, folks, even though this is an after-hours conversation, the ticker hasn't moved, but the fact that it's green right now. So for those of you financially vested in the organization, we're ending on a positive, on a green note. Dennis, thank you, man.
Yeah, there's never enough time, right, with these things. So, I always come on with the idea of, I'm going to talk about these things, and it doesn't come up. But I appreciate that you've given me the time. I would love to come back on and talk again. And I appreciate it. And I don't know where to look. I apologize. I'm still frozen up there. So it's on my side. But
we blame it on the horns behind you. That's what it is. The static electricity coming from the horns, but we don't know. Dennis, I appreciate you. Again, this session is going to be live everywhere. I will, again, have those links to some of those resources and some of those things that we talked about in the description so folks can see those. I wish you nothing but success, sir, and let's talk soon, all right?
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody, the shareholders, for your support. We had a great day today, and I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Everyone, be good. Take care of yourself. I will talk to you soon.